Most people don't lose their day at noon, they lose it at dawn. They wake up, grab their phone, scroll their fears, check their problems, and let circumstances preach to them before God ever does. And then they wonder why they feel behind, overwhelmed, and out of position before breakfast. Let me tell you something powerful. Whoever speaks first sets the tone. In business, in life, and in the spirit realm, the first voice establishes authority. If you allow stress to speak first, stress will lead your day. If you allow fear to speak first, fear will manage your decisions. But when you wake up and open your mouth with faith, with gratitude, with purpose, heaven backs what you declare. Your morning is not just a routine, it's a battleground. And victory doesn't belong to the strongest, it belongs to the one who speaks first. Today, you're going to learn how to take control before resistance ever shows up. Let me slow this down for a moment, because this right here might be the most important shift you make in your entire life. Whoever speaks first sets the direction. That's not just a motivational idea. That's a principle that works in business, in relationships, and in the spirit realm. Think about it. Every single morning, something is trying to talk to you. Your alarm clock speaks, your phone speaks, your inbox speaks, your body speaks, your memories speak. And if you don't intentionally decide which voice goes first, you automatically surrender authority to whatever is loudest. Most people wake up and immediately start reacting. They check their notifications, scroll through bad news, replay yesterday's problems, and then they wonder why they feel heavy before they even get out of bed. But you didn't wake up to react. You woke up to lead. Your day doesn't drift. It's directed. And direction is always established by the first declaration. Silence is not neutral. When you don't speak, something else will. And whatever speaks first begins to frame your mindset. If stress speaks first, your nervous system locks into survival mode. If fear speaks first, your decisions shrink. If lack speaks first, your vision gets smaller. But when faith speaks first, everything inside you starts aligning with possibility. That's why your mouth is not just for conversation, it's for command. Let me tell you something powerful. You don't wait to see how the day is going to treat you. You tell the day how it's going to treat you. High performers don't wake up asking, how am I feeling? They wake up declaring, this is the day the Lord has made, and I choose to rejoice in it. They don't check their circumstances first. They establish their confession first, because whoever speaks first sets the tone. Your words in the morning become instructions to your subconscious. They tell your mind what to look for. When you say, today is going to be hard, your brain immediately starts collecting evidence to support that statement. When you say, today is productive and blessed, your mind begins scanning for opportunities instead of obstacles. Your mouth is literally programming your perception. And here's what most people miss. The enemy doesn't need to ruin your whole day. He just needs to own your first 5 minutes. If he can get you focused on pressure instead of purpose, problems instead of promise, distraction instead of direction, then he's already ahead. That's why mornings are a battleground, not because something dramatic is happening, but because subtle agreements are being made. Every time you wake up and complain, you are agreeing with limitation. Every time you wake up and worry, you are agreeing with uncertainty. Every time you wake up and scroll without intention, you are agreeing to let the world lead you. But when you wake up and speak gratitude, you're agreeing with abundance. When you wake up and speak peace, you're agreeing with stability. When you wake up and speak vision, you're agreeing with growth. You don't need long prayers or fancy language. You need intentional words. 5 focused minutes of declaration can shift 12 hours of productivity. You don't have to feel powerful to speak power. You speak power until you feel it. That's how authority works. See, leadership always begins with language. CEOs cast vision with words. Coaches build confidence with words. Parents shape identity with words. And you shape your own future the exact same way. If you don't like the direction your life is going, check what you've been saying when nobody is listening. Your morning declarations are seeds, and seeds don't produce instantly. They produce inevitably. You may not see the results by lunchtime, but give it time. What you consistently speak in the morning starts showing up in your habits, your choices, your energy, and eventually your outcomes. Stop letting circumstances announce your day. Stop letting emotions take the microphone. Stop letting yesterday have a voice in today. You are not a victim of mornings. You are the architect of them. You don't wake up to see what happens. You wake up to make something happen. Because when you speak first, you don't just start your day, you take control of it. Let me take this a little deeper, because once you understand this, you stop trying to manage your life with effort and you start managing it with language. Your mouth is not just how you communicate with people, it's how you command your future. Most people think success comes from working harder, grinding longer, pushing more, but high-level results come from alignment first. And alignment always begins with what you say. Life doesn't respond to your intentions nearly as much as it responds to your declarations. You can mean well and still stay stuck. You can have good ideas and still feel overwhelmed. But when you consistently speak with clarity, your mind organizes itself around your words. That's why your mouth is a management tool. It tells your subconscious what matters. It tells your emotions where to settle. It tells your actions what direction to move. Every time you speak, you are giving instructions. When you say, "I'm tired," your body listens. When you say, "I'm behind," your focus scatters. When you say, "I can't catch a break," your energy collapses. You may think you're just talking, but your nervous system is taking notes. Your brain is creating pathways based on the language you use. That's not motivation. That's neuroscience meeting spiritual law. Now here's the shift. Instead of narrating your problems, start managing your life with your mouth. Before you check messages, speak clarity. Before you open emails, speak productivity. Before you step into responsibilities, speak strength. You don't wait for motivation to arrive, you issue commands to your inner world. Most people allow their circumstances to decide their language. Winners reverse that. They let their language decide their circumstances. They don't say what they see, they say what they intend. Because if you only speak what you see, you'll always stay where you are. But when you speak what you desire, your behavior starts moving toward it. Your words shape your identity. Say, "I'm always broke long enough," and you start making broke decisions. Say, "I'm disciplined consistently," and discipline becomes your default. Say, "I'm focused every morning," and distractions lose their grip. You don't become what you want, you become what you repeatedly declare. That's why complaining is so expensive. It feels harmless, but it programs defeat. Complaining trains your brain to look for what's wrong. Gratitude, on the other hand, trains your brain to recognize opportunity. Same environment, different language, completely different results. And let me tell you something important. You don't have to believe every word when you start speaking it. Belief often follows declaration. Confidence grows after confession. Peace shows up after proclamation. That's why you don't wait until you feel strong to say, "I am strong." You say it until your nervous system catches up. Think about it. Every organization is managed with language. There are meetings, memos, strategies, and vision statements. Why would your personal life be any different? If companies use words to set direction, create culture, and drive performance, you better believe your personal success requires intentional language. This is why mornings matter so much. Your first words become your operating system for the day. If the first thing out of your mouth is frustration, that becomes your filter. If the first thing out of your mouth is gratitude, that becomes your foundation. You don't stumble into productive days, you speak them into existence. And consistency is what makes this powerful. Not hype, not emotion, repetition. When you speak aligned words every morning, your habits start adjusting automatically. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your decisions change. People think something external shifted, but the real shift happened internally through language. Stop saying you're overwhelmed. Start saying you're organized. Stop saying you're stuck. Start saying you're progressing. Stop saying it's hard. Start saying you're learning. These aren't empty phrases, they're steering commands. Your life follows the strongest voice it hears consistently. So if you're serious about changing your results, don't start with your schedule. Start with your speech. Don't start with your to-do list. Start with your declarations. Speak alignment before activity. Speak clarity before chaos. Speak victory before challenges. Because once you learn to manage your life with your mouth, everything else begins to fall into order. Let me tell you something straight, because this is where most people lose their momentum without even realizing it. If you don't set the agenda for your day, something else will. There is always a voice competing for your attention. Always. The moment you wake up, the world is ready to speak. Notifications are waiting. News headlines are waiting. Other people's emergencies are waiting. Even your own memories are waiting. None of that is passive. Every one of those voices is trying to decide what you focus on. And here's the danger. Whatever controls your focus eventually controls your future. Most people think the enemy shows up as some big dramatic crisis. No, most of the time he shows up as distraction. He shows up as urgency. He shows up as noise. He doesn't need to destroy your life if he can just keep you unfocused. Because an unfocused person can't build anything meaningful. That's why the morning matters. Your first moments are when your mind is the most open, the most impressionable, the most programmable. And if the first thing you do is grab your phone, you've just handed your attention to people who don't pay your bills, don't carry your vision, and don't care about your purpose. You've allowed the world to write the opening chapter of your day. Let me help you see this clearly. Every day has an agenda. Every day has assignments. The question is not whether there will be direction, and the question is who provides it. If you don't decide what matters, your inbox will. If you don't decide your priorities, your notifications will. If you don't decide your focus, your fears will. And once your focus is scattered, your energy follows. Once your energy drops, your productivity suffers. Once your productivity suffers, your confidence starts slipping. It's a quiet chain reaction, and it all begins with who gets access to your attention first. You don't wake up tired, you wake up undefined. And whatever defines you first begins to shape your emotional state. That's why you can have a full night's sleep and still feel drained before breakfast. It's not physical fatigue, it's mental hijacking. See, distraction is not just about wasting time. Distraction is about misplaced authority. When you let random inputs lead your morning, you're giving leadership of your life to external forces. And external forces don't know your calling. They don't know your goals. They don't know your assignment. That's why intentional mornings are non-negotiable. You must decide in advance what deserves your attention. You must choose your thoughts before they choose you. You must speak direction before confusion gets comfortable. Most people live reactively. They wait to see what happens, then respond. But leaders live proactively. They establish the atmosphere first. They decide the tone first. They set the agenda first. You don't start the day asking, what's coming at me? You start the day declaring, this is who I am, this is what matters, and this is where I'm going. And let me say this, not everything that feels urgent is important. Messages feel urgent. Social media feels urgent. Other people's problems feel urgent. But your purpose doesn't scream. Your destiny doesn't send notifications. Your calling speaks quietly, and if you don't create space for it, you'll miss it. That's why silence is powerful in the morning. That's why focused declaration is powerful. That's why gratitude is powerful. You are reclaiming your attention. You are reminding your mind who's in charge. Because the enemy doesn't need to convince you to quit. He just needs to keep you busy with things that don't move you forward. He doesn't need you broken. He just needs you distracted. A distracted person drifts. A focused person builds. So every morning you make a choice. Will you be led by noise or will you be led by purpose? Will you let the world program your thoughts or will you speak your own direction? Will you surrender your focus or will you guard it? Your attention is one of your most valuable assets. Protect it, direct it, invest it intentionally. Decide what you will think about before the world tells you what to worry about. Because when you take control of your focus, you take control of your future. Let me show you why consistency in the morning is what separates people who stay stuck from people who steadily rise. Most people are looking for a breakthrough moment, a sudden change, a big emotional experience that flips everything overnight. But real authority isn't built in moments. It's built in patterns. You don't become powerful because of what you do once. You become powerful because of what you repeat. That's why your morning routine matters more than your motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Feelings change. Energy fluctuates. But consistency creates identity. When you do the same intentional things every morning, you're not just building habits. You're building who you are. You don't need a perfect morning. You need a practiced one. 5 focused minutes every day will outperform 1 inspired hour once a month. Small daily actions compound. Quiet declarations stack up. Simple disciplines multiply. And over time, what felt insignificant becomes unstoppable. Authority is formed through repetition. Think about any skill. Nobody becomes confident by accident. Nobody becomes disciplined by wishing. It comes from showing up again and again, even when it feels boring, even when it feels small, even when you don't see immediate results. The same principle applies spiritually, mentally, emotionally. When you consistently speak vision, your mind learns to think long-term. When you consistently speak gratitude, your heart becomes stable. When you consistently speak focus, distractions lose their power. Most people underestimate consistency because it doesn't look impressive. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't give instant applause. But consistency quietly rewires your nervous system. It trains your brain to expect progress. It teaches your body how to respond under pressure. After a while, discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like alignment. Let me tell you something important. Your future is not built on intensity. It's built on identity. And identity is shaped by what you practice daily. When you repeatedly declare who you are becoming, your behavior begins to follow your words. You stop forcing change because change starts happening naturally. That's why your morning declarations matter. At first, they may feel mechanical. You might not feel inspired. You might not feel powerful, but you keep speaking anyway, because authority doesn't come from emotion. It comes from agreement. You are agreeing every day with the version of yourself you are stepping into. And here's what's powerful. Once consistency is established, momentum takes over. What used to feel hard becomes automatic. What used to require discipline becomes instinct. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop debating whether you'll show up. You just do it. This is how leaders are formed. This is how confidence is built. This is how clarity becomes normal. It's not a sudden transformation. It's a series of small, faithful choices made early in the day. Most people try to change their life by changing their circumstances, but circumstances respond to consistency. You don't wait for your environment to improve before you improve your routine. You improve your routine and your environment eventually follows. Your mornings are training sessions for your future. Every day you wake up and speak alignment, you're strengthening your inner authority. Every day you wake up and declare peace, you're teaching your nervous system how to stay calm under pressure. Every day you wake up and speak vision, you're expanding your capacity to lead. And don't let anyone tell you that small steps don't matter. Small steps taken daily create massive distance over time. One declaration doesn't change much, but hundreds of declarations reshape your mindset. One focused morning won't transform your life, but months of intentional mornings will. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. When you keep your own commitments, your confidence grows. When you do what you said you would do, your self-respect increases. And when your self-respect increases, your standards rise. You stop settling. You stop procrastinating. You stop shrinking. This is how authority shows up in your life. Not loud, not flashy, but steady and unshakable. So stop chasing big moments. Start honoring small disciplines. Protect your mornings. Practice your declarations. Repeat what aligns you. Because when you master consistency in the morning, you don't just improve your days, you elevate your entire life. Let me bring this home because everything we've talked about leads right here. You don't win in the middle of the battle, you win before the battle ever begins. Most people think victory shows up when problems are solved. But real victory is established long before resistance appears. It's decided in your confessions. It's settled in your mindset. It's secured in your morning. See, life doesn't wait until you feel ready. Challenges don't send invitations. Pressure doesn't ask permission. But when your spirit is already positioned, problems lose their power to shake you. You don't rise to the level of your circumstances. You fall or rise to the level of your preparation. That's why what you say before difficulty shows up matters more than what you say during it. When trouble arrives, you don't suddenly become strong. You draw from whatever strength you've been building quietly. When fear tries to speak, it can only dominate if you haven't already filled the atmosphere with faith. Most people wait for something to go wrong before they start praying, declaring, or focusing. But leaders prepare in advance. They speak peace while things are calm. They declare provision while resources look normal. They establish clarity before confusion shows up. By the time pressure appears, their inner world is already fortified. Victory doesn't start in conflict, it starts in confession. Every morning, you are either preparing for success or rehearsing for stress. There is no neutral. If you wake up and rush straight into activity without alignment, you've already placed yourself in reaction mode. But when you take even a few moments to speak strength, speak direction, and speak gratitude, you're positioning yourself above the day instead of underneath it. Let me tell you something powerful. Momentum is manufactured. You don't wait for it. You create it. You don't wait until you feel confident. You speak confidence until your nervous system agrees. You don't wait until you feel focused. You declare focus until distractions lose authority. Your words are spiritual leverage. They shift your internal posture. They tell your body how to respond. They remind your mind who's in charge. That's why you don't whisper your future. You announce it, not with arrogance, but with alignment. And here's the key. You don't need perfect circumstances to speak victory. You speak victory into imperfect circumstances. You don't wait until everything lines up. You speak until things begin lining up. That's how momentum works. It starts internally, then shows up externally. Most people give their power away by letting situations dictate their language. Something goes wrong and they say, "Here we go again." Bills show up and they say, "I'll never get ahead." Pressure rises and they say, "I can't handle this." But every one of those statements is a surrender of authority. Instead, you say, "I'm equipped." You say, "I'm growing." You say, "I'm moving forward." You don't deny reality, you define direction. This is how you stay ahead of resistance. You don't argue with problems, you outgrow them. You don't panic under pressure, you operate from preparation. When storms come, you don't scramble for peace, you release peace. When challenges appear, you don't search for strength. You activate strength because strength was already deposited in your morning. Your day doesn't have to surprise you. Your emotions don't have to run you. Your circumstances don't have to dominate you. You are not designed to live in reaction. You are designed to live in command. So every morning, before emails, before noise, before responsibilities, you speak. You declare, you align, you remind yourself who you are and where you're going. You position your mind, you center your spirit, you activate your purpose. That's how you win before the battle begins. And when you do that consistently, life stops happening to you and starts responding to you.